So, first topic of my first podcast just has to be the NCAA tournament. I mean, when you think about it, it's just 64 teams bouncing a ball, right? Playing basketball, dunking. But some of those teams in there are just awful, we have to admit. You know, New Mexico State, Wyoming, and then they're playing, freaking Kentucky, Duke, and Wisconsin. I mean, do you see that matchup, Coastal Carolina versus Wisconsin? Do you know how many points Frank Kaminsky got? He had, I'm pretty sure, 20 against Coastal Carolina. Do you know what Coastal Carolina is? It's the worst part of Carolina. And they're making a school there. But enough about Coastal Carolina. Let's get into the sports part of this. So, I imagine a lot of people did a bracket. You know, you get money for the bracket. It's nice. It's easy. It's fun sometimes. Sometimes it's a little aggravating because, upsets. They suck. NC State beat Villanova. Michigan State made it to the Final Four. I mean, I guess Mitt Romney got it, but not many of us else got it, really. And Duke and Wisconsin in the final. I think that was the biggest upset. The Wisconsin versus the Kentucky game was probably the biggest upset there was. Knowing that Kentucky just flat across the board destroyed everyone else. Except for Notre Dame, and they beat Notre Dame too. They held strong. And then in comes Wisconsin, the state of cheese. And then they're throwing sharp cheddar at them until Willie Cauley-Stein can't jump less than a foot in the air anymore. And Aaron and Andrew Harrison are just giving up. I mean, did you see that three that he did? He just kind of lobbed it. Just like that. That was it. I mean, if you search Aaron or Andrew Harrison on YouTube, you're probably going to get some highlights of threes and a few assisting plays with the brothers. And then if you search Willie Cauley-Stein, you're just going to get a bunch of blocks, just block after block. I mean, Willie Cauley-Stein is the next Serge Ibaka, or Serge Ibaka, as some people call him. He's just walking out, so blocka. But anyway, enough about that. When you think about it, Wisconsin could have been the best team in the tournament just the way they played the whole time. Sure, they were a little rough around the edges in the last few games, but they pulled it out until the end, of course. Which I just want to give my hats off to Duke for winning the championship and winning the title. Krzyzewski, another time. His millionth win, of course. He always does a good job, but not usually that good. And now that I think about it, I put $80 on Duke to win. So I'm glad that they won, of course. Now I can just do whatever I want with the money. And then he can do whatever he wants with next year's roster because, all of them are going to the NBA. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. If you talk to him, he just says, college is the most important year of your life. Do it. But, he respects it, and I respect him just for being the coach that he is, so hats off to him for getting it done a fifth time. And hats off to Gino Auriemma getting it done a 10th time. Three-peat. He three-peated a three-peat. That's just weird. 3 in a row, then yet another 3 in a row, and then just one off to the side. Just 10 titles, quick, in only 20-something years. He had, basically half the time he gets a title. He just beats Notre Dame, and then they just give him another trophy, and it goes in another closet that he has in his big house. And might as well just call the Women's of the Year award now the Gino Auriemma Award, because that's their only really good coach of women's. Now, at least, in present terms. But, some people are saying, no, just stick with the Wooden and the Naismith. But no, I think that the Women's Player of the Year award should get a name, which should be Gino Auriemma, because he has the most women's titles ever. And he's up there on the wins list, And he's going to be put down as one of the best coaches of women's history, so might as well just give that some respect and get the title named after. The women's tournament was pretty entertaining. Iowa got pretty deep into it. I suppose they got into the Sweet 16, I'm pretty sure, is what they got into. That's good. That's good that Iowa got in there. That's a relief that we have one good basketball team. Did you see the men's? Sure, they played against Davidson well, but who has heard of Davidson before they played the Hawkeyes? The Davidson Wildcats? That's a bit copycatting, isn't it? There's the Kentucky Wildcats. If I'm right, Villanova, are they the Wildcats? I think it's them or it's a team from that division. I think it's them, but I'm not 100% sure. There were 4 Wildcats. That could have been the Final Four Wildcats. But of course it wasn't. You know why? Because Duke was great. And Jahlil Okafor was great. And Justice Winslow was great. And Tyus Jones was great. And Grayson Allen was great. Especially in that last game. If you want to watch that highlight. Then that's something to watch. 8 straight points unanswered. And then Tyus Jones coming in, just finishing off 23 points on the game. 19 in the second half. When I was watching it, I was just really angry when Duke was down 9. And then they came back, and then they won. Boom. They won. Against all odds, Duke was not favored to win anyway. I was the one person in the competitive bracket that I won the $80 from that picked Duke out of 25 people. 25 people. You know how many picked Kentucky? 17. 17 of them picked Kentucky. And there was only one person who finished in the top 4 that had picked Kentucky to win it all. They got $20. Well, I got 80. And, I am not even old enough to go to this school yet. And still, I can beat them down. Easy. No problem. No problem. But brackets, those things are just... they're fun to make, like a journalist here. I know. His name's Cody. He made 2 brackets. One of them was a little serious. He picked UNI to win it all, which is decent, But Louisville, they played Louisville, and Louisville is Louisville. So they're kind of like the Patriots in the way that they always have a playoff season, even if they're not that special. They always just get deep in it. And I thought, well, that's commendable to choose an Iowa team, but you choose Northern Iowa? I know it's serious and all, but Northern Iowa, huh? Obviously a bad choice if you picked Iowa State, and if you did, I'm sorry, but you're stupid. And if you picked Northern Iowa, again, I'm sorry, but you're still pretty stupid. I know another journalist here even picked the people who lost to Kansas, New Mexico State. The New Mexico State Aggies. You know what an Aggie is? Of course you don't. Google it right now, an Aggie. Basically just a cowboy, really. But, I guess you don't have to Google it anymore. But he picked the New Mexico State. Do you know who went to New Mexico State? Exactly. You don't know. I don't know. So I'm not even going to get into it. So, yeah, I'm not going to even bother with seeing who went to New Mexico State. I know who did go to New Mexico, Brian Urlacher. But that's football. And out of all the colleges that he could have gone to, he picked New Mexico. The state of... what's that the state of? Decorative colors? Lovely scarves and nice jewelry that they can sell on the street. That's lovely. Lovely town, really. Go to the capital of New Mexico. Just lovely, lovely place. You know, I mean, of course, New Mexico State is at least better than Hampton, who played Kentucky in the first round. Hampton on the East Coast, I think. Gotta give them a shout out for at least trying. I mean, they beat Manhattan. That was their win, pretty much. That was their tournament, beating Manhattan. They knew they could just go out there and do whatever they wanted, but no matter what, the Harrison brothers and Cauley Stein and Dakari Johnson and Carl Anthony Towns, they were just going to go out there and just dunk and elbow them in the face until they won. Because that's what they do. They just do that. And that's how they won 38 games. You know, which, good for them. Losing to Cheese State and all. At least it's a respectable team. They didn't lose to, a person like Hampton. Or they didn't lose to the possible other Manhattan. Or they didn't go in the second round and lose to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, the Bearcats. What's a Bearcat? It's a cat that's a bear? How's that work? It doesn't. Exactly. It doesn't work. And that's why the whole thing to me is confusing about mascots. Because sometimes, like Wildcats, which cat? There are many Wildcats. Who's going to make the house cats? Is it going to be like the Shire State House Cats? Lovely. They wear tabby, and they wear other orange shade type, and then they go out and they just shoot threes, and they go 3 for 12 on threes that whole day. It's lovely. But why not like the Kentucky frickin', not the Wildcats. How about like the Panthers? The Kentucky Panthers. I mean, what's wrong with saying like here come the Wisconsin, whatever, the Badgers, and then freaking Wisconsin coming out as the Badgers. I mean, that game was just ridiculous to me, the way that it was played, in every way, shape, or form. That game was a little ridiculous. Just how Kentucky kind of early on just lagged around, and then they watched Frank Kaminsky just dunk again and again. Then he gave it to Sam Decker, and then he shot again and again. Which, I had Kentucky in the finals, but so did 17 other people, so it was a bittersweet loss for me. I suppose Kentucky may have been the only team that could have really honestly beaten Duke, but, Kentucky's undefeated, one-loss season really just, that must have stung Calipari. Going into the Final Four as the favorite, as the number one of the number ones, and then suddenly, they lose and they just go home, back to Kentucky. And then when they get there, riot. It's a riot. There's a riot happening in Kentucky. But, Duke pulled it out. Duke was the winner. Duke did it all. They won. Krzyzewski, hats off to him. And this has been your friendly neighborhood sporter man signing off.